Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Midlife Real Life Chat Show. I'm Kerry Wilden, I'm the founder and editor of Fab After 50 and also the careers expert with Midlife MOT. And I have with me today our usual panellists, Jo Jewett, the makeup artist. Hi Jo.
Hello, hello, hello.
And Maggie McMillan, who's a stylist and brand consultant. Hi Maggie.
Hi everybody.
I'm delighted to have with us today Rachel Peru, who is the silver-haired model and also a champion for body confidence. Hi Rachel, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello everybody. Hi, it's lovely to be here with you all.
So Rachel, obviously, you came into modelling, didn't you, relatively, I guess, late.
Yes.
But how easy do you think it is for us to accept how our bodies change as we get older?
I think it's really difficult. I came into it when I was 46, so 4 years ago, and I think women find it really hard to accept their changes, partly because we're just not represented, so we don't get seen. So, we've got nothing else to relate to, so we're really critical about our bodies. And obviously we've got the menopause and everything else that's going on. So I think it's tough. I think it's a really hard time for women.
Probably a good time for women as well, because I think there's a lot of new things, the advert that you were in, and I love the fact that you don't really give a damn. You don't give a damn about getting your tummy out. I love the pictures that you put on Instagram and Facebook. You just look sensational, and I just think that's such a positive message, because sadly, like with our faces and everything else, that I champion, everything tends to change, and we're all the same, so well done you.
Thank you. Well, I think it's interesting because in my 20s and 30s, I really struggled with body confidence.
Absolutely.
And it's not until I've hit my 40s and now 50 that I do have that attitude where I don't actually care what other people think.
Don't care.
And I am probably the heaviest I've ever been. I eat healthily, I exercise when I can, but I'm just in a really comfortable place. And so it doesn't bother me wearing swimsuits and lingerie. But if I look back, if I thought I was going to be doing this in my 20s and 30s, I would never have imagined it.
If you could speak to your 20 and 30 person, you would say, you're not fat, you look amazing, but when you're absolutely right, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're constantly critical of yourself. Yeah. And I just wish I could say, Joanne, you are not fat. You will encounter fat, but it will be later on.
Yeah.
And it'll be fine as well.
Yeah, and I think it's that for me, it stopped me doing so many things because I was so self-conscious about my body. And so now it doesn't stop me at all. It's not something that I think about every day. Whereas before it was, stepping on the scales and comparing myself to other people.
I've lost a pound today.
Yeah, and if you didn't, then it would mean you'd have a bad day. And I think there's definitely been a mental shift, which I think is quite common in women as they get older.
Yeah. But that's interesting, Rachel, because I wanted to ask you, what's your secret, and what was there a sudden shift? What brought about this change in confidence? Because I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I actually got divorced when I was 39, and I'd been with my husband in a relationship with him for like 25 years, so from being 16. And so I suddenly found myself single and 40. So I retrained and went back to university and got an education studies degree. On my 40th, I did a charity skydive, tandem skydive. And that for me was real, and I'm scared of heights. And so for me, that was a real kind of, okay, if I can do that, what else can I do? And so I've always pushed myself since then to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I think that's where the confidence has come. I've not particularly worked on my body confidence. It's just come naturally because I've experienced more, because I've pushed myself.
Do you think that your body confidence, do you think that body confidence then grows when you grow generally in confidence?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah. I don't think they're separate. I think it's part of the things that you go through in life. And I think if you can get to a point where you're confident and you've had lots of different positive experiences that you can bank on in your memory, then I think the body stuff almost takes a back seat, because you're more proud of the things that you've achieved and experiences that you've enjoyed. They're more important.
Yeah, no, I agree. Totally.
What you're saying is brilliant in the fact that it does encourage women to actually really look at themselves and realize how beautiful they are still, and not concentrate on the negatives, you know, the roll of fat here, or the cellulite there, or the, you know, the wrinkle here. It's very, very important message, and something that I know our listeners are going to be tuning into.
I think there's that there is that guilt, isn't there, for women, particularly like you say, when you go to kids, that you shouldn't be spending time on looking after yourself.
My one-to-ones, one of the things I chat to my clients about is, you know, which parts of the body they like best. And it's quite extraordinary. I've been doing this for so many years now, and so many women, I mean, we're just so self-deprecating, struggle when I say, well, which parts of your body do you like best? You know, because it's not, you know, looking great in your clothes. It's not a mystery. You just focus on the areas that are the best, you know, that you love most. And I have to say, across the spectrum, from all the women that I see, I'd say 85% of the women I see answer that question by saying, oh, I don't know, I've never thought about it. I don't like anything really. Yet if you said to them, well, what don't you like, or they will straight away go into, what I don't like is, I don't like my hips, I don't like, you could be there all day. And I find that really interesting, because I do the same exercise with men, and I've got to say, I don't like to generalize, but I'm going to, that men generally can find something nice about themselves, you know. Oh, well, my wife says I've got nice eyes, or I've just been going to the gym, or whatever, you know, or my legs are not bad. But I find I work with some young people in schools and sixth formers, and it's so important for them to understand that, you know, it's and I didn't know, I thought it was a northern thing to start with, you know, because don't get above yourself, you know, don't think you look nice, don't show off, but I don't know that it is. I mean, I was brought up in the north, but most of my clients are in the south, and however successful they are, some of them, and some of them are like hugely successful, they still, you see them look in the mirror, and as soon as they look in the mirror, they look at the bits they don't like. That's all they see, and that's terrifying, really.
It's the same for accepting compliments, isn't it? Women find it so hard to accept compliments, whereas you say something to a man and they would just take it and be happy with it, whereas women always bat it off with something self-deprecating, or, you know, say, oh, I just got this outfit in the sale, or we're always really kind of knocking ourselves even when somebody else is trying to give you a compliment.
I think we need to really span our talents, all of our talents, to everybody, because there are so many women out there that really feel wretched about their bodies and everything else. And so this is your so how are you going to do that, Rachel?
I think by being visible, I think by pushing the industry to make sure that women over 50 are represented and are being visible is really, really important. I think, you know, and there are days when I'll put something of me maybe in a bikini or lingerie that I don't feel particularly great about myself, and I kind of put it on and take a deep breath and walk away from it. But then I get really lovely messages from other women saying thank you for being authentic and showing yourself, because, you know, I went out and bought a bikini because I'd seen you in it, and that's what drives me, and that's something that I'm really passionate about, and that's what I hope that the more women they see doing that and being visible will help other people stop comparing themselves and stop being so judgmental on each other.
Absolutely, and it does.
It's comparison and judgment, isn't it? There's a tricky word.
Yeah, I think comparison is really difficult, and social media is a great place, but it's also a really difficult place. And I think, I know you talked about it, I think last week, about how the effects on lockdown on people's confidence and body confidence. I think we're being bombarded by, you've got to be doing all these fantastic exercise programs and following a superbly healthy lifestyle in lockdown so that you come out a different person. And that puts loads of pressure on people, instead of saying, well, do you know what, accept this. If you want to exercise one day, great. If you don't beat yourself up about it.
Quite right. Quite right.
Absolutely true. Absolutely.
Haven't been able to have all their usual treatments. And normally the women, and they obviously must feel pressured to look a certain way. And the people they selected are finding it very difficult. But they will spend between £1,000 and like £1,200 a month on treatments, and they were saying about all the money they'd saved, but they were doing the before photos and the after photos and how it was denting their confidence. You think, well, then, well, first of all, there's the cost of it. Secondly, personally, if I wanted to spend £1,200 a month on something, I think I'd find something that gave me more reward and took up a lot less time. Yeah. And you think, well, how sad that they felt the need to have all these things done every month instead of just getting on out there and enjoying life. And for them, lockdown's been incredibly difficult because there's that sort of that avenue, that part of their lives has been taken away from them.
But I do think what you were saying a moment ago, though, Rachel, about Instagram and social media, you know, the pictures that people put on, we've got to be really honest about this. Most of them have been filtered beyond belief. And now you've got, which I love about yours, Rachel, because I can see that you don't do that. You don't airbrush bits out or elongate your legs or take away, which is really key. And I don't, and I don't with my, with what I do. But I think it's really important that people realise that there are those tools. I saw somebody the other day. I know she's a size 16. She literally put at least 4 inches on her legs. She got this cinched in, and I thought, that's never her. She doesn't look like that. Yeah. And then when you looked at it closely, I thought, oh God, why? Yeah. Why do people feel? Because that's what makes people feel bad about themselves, because they're looking at their mates that they've known 10 or 15 years ago and think, God, she looks good. What happened to me?
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
Yeah. And I really think that they should have to put a disclaimer on photographs.
I do.
Because then it's for everybody to see and there's no arguments. And then you can say to yourself, your brain can say, okay, well, she doesn't actually look like that. She's added X amount of filters to, we can all do that. So yeah, I think it's important but then you can follow and unfollow people, can't you? So you have got the tools to create your own feed.
You've got that button.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think when I work with teenagers, I start off by taking photos, like before and after photos, of people that they admire without their makeup on, when they've just been caught by a camera somewhere. Just to try, because if we can sort of help them understand that from an early age, I think that's really important. That what you see is not necessarily as it is. Yeah. I think that's a useful lesson. But also, I was just thinking what Joe was saying and what you were saying about, and what Kerry was saying about, women who feel lost in and lose their confidence in lockdown because they haven't been able to spend their £1,200 a month on treatments. And I think it is kind of each to his own, isn't it? And it's very difficult for us to say that, if that's what makes you feel better about yourself and that's what gives you confidence, that's great. But I guess what we really need to concern ourselves with are all those hundreds of thousands of women who can't afford to spend that amount of money.
I don't spend anything.
These women who look so polished. And think, oh my God, I'd really love to look like that, and I'd never look like that. And so those are the women to whom we need to reach out, really, and help them understand in different ways,
Yeah, it's about changing the language about aging as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's saying that it's okay to embrace the wrinkles, and you don't have to spend that money to just be natural, and that society aren't going to reject you because you've gone grey so I think it's changing the language, which I guess even starts at school, like you've been saying. I think I'd love to see kind of catwalk lessons in schools for young kids, because it's about putting your head up high and saying, this is me and I'm not going to change for anybody else, and just building that inner confidence at a young age.
We have talked a little bit about it, haven't we? We've talked about the media and the role that the media plays in body confidence, and I'm sort of interested about when you first got into modelling and when you were approaching companies. Was that hard, or did you find resistance?
It was interesting because I hadn't planned to do this at all. I was actually at home at the time and I wasn't working, and I'd done some volunteer work for a local Macmillan fashion show, and I've actually done it for 10 years now. I model for them every year. And the first year I did it, I was terrified. And then about 4 or 5 years in, I actually came away buzzing and thought, I really love doing this. And the photographer said, well, actually, you're really photogenic. Have you thought about it? So I'd have been 45 and I thought, well, actually, no, it's not something I thought about. But if I could get something local whilst I'm at home, it'd be quite nice to do the odd job. It'd be fun. Sent off really basic photos. And by that point, I'd got enough confidence to think I'm going to send them everywhere and see what happens. So I did send them off to London agencies and got picked straight away. So I found the whole process really quite easy. And I think maybe because it wasn't like a big drive to be this successful model. I just wanted to see what would happen, that it just kind of all fell into place.
And have you ever had any backlash from brands that you have, glamorous brands that you have modelled for, about the fact that you're so honest and open on your Instagram, for example?
No, not at all. Do you know what? Not at all.
That's interesting, isn't it? That's good.
I mean, I think I'm with the right agency. I'm with an agency that represents curve models. So you know what you're going to get when you book me. You know, my statistics are there, and I am the size I am, and I've got grey hair.
You're gorgeous.
And I think it is changing in the industry. I think brands are wanting to work with authentic people because I think that's what the consumer wants.
It's
so there is a shift changing. I mean, it's slow, certainly slower for older models to get the work. But I have been really lucky with the brands that I've worked with. To be honest, I don't think I would work with the brands that didn't accept me for what I was. If they started denying about it, it wouldn't be for me.
Yeah.
I think it is changing a bit though, isn't it? You do see, and there is a realisation that women, you know, the 40s to the 70s really, have got more disposable income. And you see brands like a high street brand like River Island, then introducing Harpen, which is deliberately aimed at over 40 women. And then you see things like Hope Fashion, who was on our show a couple of weeks ago, who is looking at that over 40 demographic, and also looking at the curvy. I'm the mum of two daughters who are 29 and 33, and they are both, well, size 14, good size 14s, with very big boobs. And it's really interesting it's really interesting to have watched them and but you know what's really interesting in reverse? I'm quite tiny, and I feel hugely disadvantaged because I'm tiny, because they're bigger and I'm not, and so it's very, very difficult for me. You know, there was, oh well, it's all right for you, you know, because you don't have these problems. Look at you, you're getting even smaller. And it's a sort of, you know, it's a kind of reverse demographic really there, because it's that thing about you don't feel you can give advice unless you've been there.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so to be curvy, that's what's so wonderful about you, and that's why women in particular, you know, will buy clothes when they can see them on a curvy model.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. The judgment as well, isn't it? Women are so judgmental of each other still, and that's something we really have to work on, because it stops you doing things because you fear what other people are going to think of you. And you know, we should all be supporting each other. You know, I hate seeing these forums where a woman might have shown too much cleavage, or she'll have her shirt buttons down and she'll get hammered by women for saying, you know, you're over 50, get yourself covered up in a roll neck, pole neck. You know, I just think we've got to change the conversations we're having, which is why things like this are brilliant, because this is what 50-year-old women are like now.
Absolutely.
When you started modelling though, Rachel, did you intend to go into the lingerie swimwear arena, or you know, because you know, how did that happen? Because you know, obviously it's really positive that you're out there and you're being seen in this space, but it must have been quite daunting, wasn't it, at the start?
Yeah, not at all what I thought I'd be doing. I thought I would be doing kind of catalogue style modelling, and fashion. And one of my first big jobs was actually for a pharmacy, and I was playing a grandmother with grey hair. So it was a kind of stereotypical role, which was a great job, but it wasn't really what I was about. Yeah. And I got the opportunity to work for an American brand alongside Ashley Graham in swimwear. So I found myself going to the Bahamas, age 47, stood on this beach next to some really beautiful women, and thinking to myself, crumbs, how have I got here? You know, what am I doing? And I did have moments where my husband came to the airport with me, and I was locking myself in the toilet, you know, nearly in tears, thinking, how the hell am I going to do this? But I came back from there a different person, because I came back from there and thought, you know what, for my age, and well, not even for my age, that shouldn't come into it. I looked great. They'd done a great job with my hair and makeup. My swimsuit looked fantastic. And it lit something in me. And now actually, I've carved this niche in me in this because I love doing it. So I actually enjoy them. My favourite job's the swimsuit and the lingerie now, which I never thought I'd say.
You've got great legs.
Thank you.
But I know that, I mean, I've had the website go for about 10 years and things have improved. Well, actually 11 years now, have improved. But certainly, especially in the early days, I couldn't find, if I'd have lingerie or some brands that want to work with me, and yes, we would do a great piece about how to choose a swimsuit or how to choose the right size bra, but all the images that I was sent always came with a 20-something person, or somebody really young, really skinny. And even if they were talking about bigger bust sizes and what have you, they still had the model was in like the 32A version. So so the women who were reading it were saying, well, why can't we have models that look like us? And all I could do was agree with them, but I didn't have the budget to go and do photo shoots. I had to use the photos that they sent me. Yeah. And it just wasn't realistic. And I think also that actually then diminishes them in confidence, isn't it? Because the expectation is, well, you're supposed to look this way and not how we actually look. As
I mean, who wants to, at our age, who wants to go and buy a new bra and be bombarded by marketing in front of you with a 20-year-old wearing that bra that you're just about to try on? Because you instantly kind of think, well, damn, I never looked like that when I was 20. So, how great would it be to walk in and see women of all ages all stood together in the same bra? And not just tokenism, because even though there is a definite shift, and I think there's progress, there's still a lot of tokenism. It might just be they might have one older lady in a campaign, but then they won't carry it through. They won't have her on the website modelling that stuff. It'll just be the front page cover of a shoot. So they've got to carry it through. We've got to carry it through to the marketing, to the website, to the e-com, so that we are properly represented. I think we've got a long way to go.
But when it comes to body confidence now, as we get older, do you think the pressure comes from ourselves, or is it from other women, or is it the media, or is it,
I think a combination of all those things.
I was going to say all of the above, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's all of them. I think as a society, we put a lot of pressure on making sure, there's still the language around ageing is still very negative for women. So that's a massive part to play in it, because we're always told, we're sold creams and we've got to look younger and about how youthful you should look, instead of just being, healthy looking for how you feel. So I think that's a huge part. I think we're all critical of each other. There is that judgment element, and we're also really hard on each other. I think we're really hard on ourselves, and I think it's that guilt thing again, isn't it? It's women have not allowed themselves the time for themselves to kind of embrace and look at what they've achieved and how far they've come, and to pat themselves on the back enough. I think we don't do that enough. And I think that's a massive part of building your body confidence, to saying, do you know what? Look what I've done this week, and I've achieved this, and my body has carried me through that, and that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
It's interesting about COVID, isn't it? Because this sort of slant on COVID about people who are overweight being more susceptible to COVID, and I think that's added an extra anxiety for some people. I mean, we all know that it's not good to be very overweight, but I think that has added an extra anxiety for some, especially because people, I think I'm one of the few people in the world that during COVID, but I think that's, most people have been eating in a different way. Some have been eating more healthily, but a lot of people have been maybe eating not quite so healthily, and there has been an anxiety about that.
Definitely, because it's always been made fun of, hasn't it? It's been I've seen all these jokes about, I'm going to come out of here an alcoholic and 5 pounds heavier, as if that's the worst thing that could happen. Whereas actually we should be saying, well, if I come out of here, I'm hoping to have a job and be able to pay my bills in 6 months' time. Why is 3 or 4 pounds in weight such a big deal? I think it's the priorities that we put on it that's the struggle.
I fought and won the battle against anorexia nervosa. I did this thing many, many moons ago, and I just have not got the frame to be you know, to be a skinny girl. I never have. I can remember going on a diet for 2 weeks before I went for a job with British Airways. I looked amazing. I was a size 8, walked in, I didn't do anything apart from drink white wine for about 2 weeks. I can remember walking in, I looked amazing. I couldn't speak. I couldn't function. I was completely and utterly undernourished. But, you know, and this is what women, girls do to themselves.
Yeah.
So drink that glass of wine, have that piece of cake, and, you know, but put your makeup on and you'll be fine.
It's interesting.
Can I also say that as one gets older, I think curvier women, you know, age better. Because, as I say, I've lost, over the last 2.5 years, I've never been, you know, big, but I've lost a lot of weight. And when I look at myself in the mirror, I liked the way I looked a lot better when I was curvier. Honestly, I do look more, and I know it shouldn't, it doesn't, of course. However, but I think that no one ever says, you look better as you get a bit older when you get curvier. No one ever says that, you know, and it is absolutely true. My arms, you know, I've got the arms, I'm 68, I've got the arms of a 68-year-old. When they were a bit bigger, they would, you know, they look better. My legs look completely different now. And so nobody ever says that, do they?
No.
You know, we're
My
all
mum does.
you know,
My mum thinks I'm too thin. Yeah.
does she?
And I could do it, you know, put on a few pounds, but I just think I'm so busy. I'm not trying to lose weight. I just don't put it on. So, and I do realise that if I have a bit fuller in the face, and like you said, your arms and what have you, I think I would look better. But I am the way that I am, and there's not much I can do about it. So
it's interesting.
Now we're being more critical again, aren't we, Rachel?
Yeah, and it's interesting because when I got divorced, I did lose 2 stone, and I got so many compliments, and oh well, you've turned your life around, you look fantastic, and they kind of completely missed the point that actually it was the most depressing time of the last kind of 10, 15 years, and I felt really crap. But everyone was so fixated on the weight, whereas now, I did naturally put that weight back on because this is my natural kind of size that suits me, and I'm happier than I ever have been. But it's that kind of psychology,
absolutely
isn't it?
true. Everybody keeps saying to me, my husband died 2.5 years ago, and everybody keeps saying to me, oh, you look amazing, you look fantastic, you've lost so much weight, you look amazing. And I don't feel amazing, and it's but there is an assumption, if you've lost weight, as long as you've got your slap on, you look better. And that's just crazy, absolutely crazy. So to all you ladies out there that put on a few pounds, take it from me, it'll do you good. Don't worry about it.
As I say, eat that cake, drink that wine.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We don't know what
think we could give other people. What tips would you offer?
Do you know what my key thing for me that works for me, when I really started to buy nice lingerie, it made such a difference, because up until my kind of late 30s I just wore any old tats and nothing matched, and then I started just buying nice lingerie sets, and it made such a difference to how I felt when I stepped out the door. Just because I didn't care that nobody else was going to see it, I felt really good about myself, because it was psychological. It was that me investing and saying, okay, it's okay for you to spend this money on buying a really nice bra and knicker set, because it made me feel good. And it's something that I still do now, and it's my kind of go-to thing. And I also think having those affirmations, and I know we all talk about it, but it's really true. It's I write down a gratitude book every night. I write 3 things in it. And when I first started going through this journey in the last kind of 10 years, I always had 3 things that I would write that have been positive about myself that day. So it might have been that I did something nice for somebody, or it might have been that I felt I looked great in that pair of jeans I tried on. So I think it's just daily building yourself up and adding little tips each day.
Yeah. Very good.
Now, I'm surprised you haven't been wearing matching lingerie your whole life, actually, because, girl brought up in the north, I was always brought up that your pants and your bra must always match, because you might have an accident.
Yes.
And you might be taking hospital. You never know. You might have to go to hospital.
It's so true. My mum used to always say that to me. But you know what? I think it was indicative of how I probably felt about my body, because I didn't like myself and I didn't like the way I looked.
Yeah.
It didn't enter me to think, well, okay, actually, I deserve to go and buy myself something nice. It might help.
Interesting.
I mean, I got divorced about 3 years ago, and the first thing I did, I threw out all my underwear and bought new. Because I was with somebody who constantly put me down, and I thought, right, that's it, fresh start. And it just went, big black bin bags, off it went. And
your pink jacket came out, Kerry.
And the pink jacket, which I talked about last week, the pink jacket came out as well. Yeah, so it was like it can be quite cathartic, can't it? And it's almost make a statement and say, no, this is for me now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. It's about saying it's okay to spend some time on yourself and buy the nice makeup, and learning how to do different skills and changing the way you look, because we don't look the same as we did in our 20s. So it's recognizing that.
God, you were listening to me, Rachel.
I was.
We always do, Jo. We always do.
I've not worn eyeliner since.
Go! Yay! But it's interesting what you've both just said there, because you've both, mentioned, and even with Maggie, this the man in your life kind of thing, and the impact that, losing your husband, getting divorced, there's that man thing that I think that has really sometimes got a pretty negative effect on us, because I think there is also the fact that a lot of men, if you did dress up beautifully and you did wear that lingerie, and they would immediately say, what are you wearing that for? Why are you wearing that pink jacket? You look amazing in that pink jacket. Why did he say you don't look amazing in that pink jacket? Why didn't you wear that pink lingerie? Do you know what I mean? I think it's a key point. Yeah,
I think you're right, and I think it's a balance, isn't it? Maybe they just don't like that the balance might shift, and they don't like a confident woman. It's a threat, and I think the balance is maybe tipping our way, hopefully, slowly.
I think it is. Quite often, when I've been involved with women in the corporate world, and we've kind of, they've maybe been going for a change of job or whatever, we have restyled them and made sure that they look, because they maybe have worn the same thing for like 20 years in a male environment, and we make them look great. But that's sort of a real confidence builder. But sometimes I work with women who are within a company and they just are not, they need more gravitas, they need to reflect better their position within the company. But what's really interesting, when we do some sort of a makeover, I would say, I've lost count of the number of women who said to me that they've been the talk of their colleagues, because their colleagues have all assumed they were having an affair.
That's really interesting.
Isn't that interesting? Not that they could have done it for themselves, just because they wanted to feel better and they wanted a makeover, but that there was an assumption that they'd been doing it for a man.
Yeah, so it is that power thing, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and I suppose when I put swimwear and lingerie posts out on social media, it's not to attract a man, it's to show other women that, you can look good at any age and feel happy in your skin. And at the beginning, when I first put those pictures out, I did get a lot of unwanted attention by men, as if it was their right to do that, and as if I was doing it for them. And that, luckily, that's really died down, and the men that do follow me completely get why I'm doing it, and they're much more supportive. But it is that assumption that any woman that puts themselves out there to represent themselves with their head held high is doing it to attract a man's attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think the more we show up and the more we carry on doing what we're doing, then that message gets across, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you're doing that brilliantly. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Well,
I enjoy it.
Body confidence, it carries over to every aspect of your life. It carries over, like you said, at the end of this, we're hoping we're going to have jobs to go to, and so people can pay their bills. Even if you're going to the workplace, if you're going for a new job, you want to feel confident walking in. And that is just accepting who you are and what you look like, and being the best. I think you have to be the best version of you. You're not trying to look younger, not trying to look better than somebody else, but you just want to present yourself as your best you, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
And just be confident, accepting. It's that we're not going to look like we're 25 anymore in any aspect of our bodies, our faces, our hair, whatever. But it's just knowing who you are and putting your best version forward, I think.
Yeah, and also embracing the fact that life's fluid, isn't it? We might be happy where we are now, but we've also got to accept that there'll be more change in the next 5 years. So it's about just embracing each day and putting your head up high and just knowing who you are, which I think does come from turning. I've just turned 50 and I'm actually quite excited about the next decade and seeing what's ahead of me. So I think there's a lot more positivity for women our age now.
Yeah,
I think
I'm 60, so we're all in the next decade, aren't we? Yeah, we're all in the next decade.
Am I the oldest at 68?
Yes.
Blimey. That's all I can say. Blimey.
Yes. You look great, Maggie.
You do, it's amazing.
I wasn't fishing for compliments. I was just.
Oh, I know. You do look great.
It's weird though. I don't, there's not another thing about age. Just sort of, when you get to this age, which is kind of a lot older than 50, you sort of think, no, I can't be 68. I'm not 68, It's really strange. Very strange.
It's just a number anyway. I think it depends on what age you are in your head. And I mean, wearing those glasses, Maggie, you are definitely still 30 in my mind.
Oh, good.
You can get away with 30. But it's what you actually put in your head, the age that you are. You know
what my daughters say to me sometimes? Oh, Mummy, for goodness sake, dress your age, not your shoe size.
Oh, never do that.
No, never do that.
On that note,
I think that when we're all out there doing what we're doing, and we're all the ages that we are, we do show women that life actually changes, evolves in a positive way when we're older. And I know that one time I gave a talk somewhere and somebody came as I was on my way out, and she just came to me, can I just say to you, thank you? And I can't remember, it was just, I don't know, talking about careers or whatever, and the fact I'd set up the website, And she said, you've taken away my fear of aging. She said, I've been having nightmares about turning 50. And I looked at her and said, but how old are you? She said, I'm 42. And at 42, I'm just saying, but I've only got 8 years really to live my life, because once I'm 50, everything stops. Oh, goodness. Yeah. But it was just that she really did think that this, the number 50 was the end of the world for her.
Yeah, and because I think that's another important point about why it's important we're doing what we're doing and showing up. Because it will make a massive difference to the next generation's confidence about aging and body confidence.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote my book when I was 50, and that was the beginning of me kind of moving into doing what I'm doing now. I had a sabbatical in the middle when I had my children.
Yeah.
Actually, like you, Rachel, my whole kind of perception of what life's about and what my mission is and what I want to do and how I want to live my life, or for the rest of what's left of my life, I want to inspire women to feel good about themselves, because I've met, and I'm sure that many of you have, women who just don't feel that, and that's wrong on too many levels.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of women to reach. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of women to reach.
A lot.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yes, we will. Yeah.
If you're listening, we're with you. We're coming for you.
Yes.
So I guess to end the show then, should we go on to just to wrap things up, go on to our hero products?
Oh, shit.
Who's bought a hero product with them?
I have.
To go first?
It's not a physical one.
So would you like to go first then, Rachel?
I have got my go-to book, Feel the Fear.
My book.
Oh, is it?
That was Joe's hero product last week.
Oh, I swear, I can't tell you how many times I've read it.
I let go and I trust. I let go and I trust everything's working out perfectly.
Yeah.
That book changed my life.
I read it over and over again, and I tell all my friends about it. Yeah.
I do. Yeah. Gosh, get it, girls. Change your life.
Yes.
Maggie,
another book.
I haven't got one.
Yeah, I've got 1.5 really, because talking about books, Nora Ephron, Heartburn, I've just reread it. And, you know, it's this story of this American woman whose husband, the late Laura Ephron, who has this amazing sense of humor. And it's a short book, so those of us who are struggling with attention can read it quite quickly. And her husband has an affair while she has her baby, while she's pregnant with their child. And it's set in America in the 50s, 60s. And it's a book that every woman should read. It's humorous, it's warm, it's so true to life, and there are so many lessons in it. So that would, just in terms of books, Nora Ephron. My second, quickly, that was going to be my thing, is the sales. The sales are on at the moment, and the Net-a-Porter sale is on. And I want to say, piece of advice in the sales, don't buy anything unless you will wear it again next year. Because, you know, the temptation is just to go out there. So in the sales, don't buy anything unless you're sure you're going to wear it again next year. And nothing's cheap if you don't want it, need it, not want it, need it. Okay, so that's my intangible things.
Right, well, I completely forgot about it, being the naughty girl that I am. But I've got this. This is a teddy bear that my mother, it was just actually sitting on the chair here, because, you know, I'm putting the house up for sale, so I'm cleaning everything in sight, and I pulled her down. This is Mrs. Lom, the wife of Jumbo Lom, that my sister's writing a book about, who my brother used to tell us stories of Jumbo Lom, Freddie Bob Bloggs, and the Mowbray Park Gang, with very... So I've had this for 15 years. Do you like your dress, Maggie? Are you impressed?
Love it. Blooming love it. She always had that dress.
Colour coordinated. Look.
Wonderful. Oh, what's that?
I've got this, because I've had all these things for quite a long time. So this is a silicone cleansing brush. So I'm just switching on. It vibrates, and I used to use the sonic brush. It's a sonic cleanser, and I used to use the sonic brush, but they're really difficult to clean all the time. And these little things, it really
like
deep cleans. It's Foreo, this one, but you can get them all different sorts now. You can get them. I think this one's about £75. I think you can check, which has lasted me a long time. You can get them about similar things, about £30 in Boots. But it really deep cleanses your skin, and it also massages your skin while you're using it. And what I have found is it actually helps your skin to absorb the serums better. So by having your skin really clean, it gives you a gentle exfoliation each time. If you've got nice products, you're not wasting any, because you're getting all the benefit of the product, because it just goes straight into your skin. So this is a little one. I think that the versions now are slightly, they've got different types of bristles on them, etc., etc. Because I've got one of the early ones, but they're really effective. And I think for those people who are missing going out and having their expensive facials every week, it's something that kind of contributes to giving yourself, you know, because you have a facial in a salon, they really deep clean your skin, don't they? Which I don't find I can do normally as well at home, but this really helps. So
trying those things out, Kerry, because you do tell the truth. I know that, you know, when people send you them, I think it's important to be able to actually say, well, actually, this did do.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are tempted into things. It's like with serums and creams that say, you know, put this on and next week you're going to look like a superstar. You know, at the end of the day, we all know that's not true. But I think a lot of these things, you know, if they are expensive, don't get me wrong, if it works, fantastic. But I think these things need to be tested by somebody who will tell the truth.
I do, yeah.
Truth and honesty is the most important thing at the minute.
And like the thing I'm thinking some of the things I do buy, so it's not all things that I'm sent.
No,
I've got some things that I buy as well, and I share those too. Like the thing last week was the facial massager. I've had that one for years too. And that's readily available. And I think that costs £30 now. Can't remember what it cost when I bought it. But again, all the things I do, if it makes a difference, it's because whatever I've used has made a difference. I'm not out there having my Botox and my fillers. So if I say, well, this does help with wrinkles, that's what I've used to help.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I think people I've often said this, and this comes back to the confidence thing. I think people who are doing beauty product reviews, I think they should be honest if they've had Botox and fillers or the non-surgical or surgical treatments, because otherwise, if they're saying this pot of cream is going to do it, they're setting very unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, that's what I'm
and
talking
that
about.
bothers me, actually, when people aren't honest about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's the same
just
for fashion, isn't it? It's the same for fashion when you see people wearing a dress and then they change their body shape. Well, that dress doesn't look like that on that person. It's about
or it's all clipped at the back. You know, it's all clipped at the back, so it looks fantastic. And actually, it's a completely different shape.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I have been sent dresses which have looked awful on me, and I've gone back to the brand and said, well, actually, I can't wear this. It just looks dreadful. And they've said to me, well, can't you clip it at the back?
Yeah.
And I've gone through and I've said, no, I can't, because, you know, I have to be honest about what I'm saying. And in fact, this particular brand, in fact, there's one brand who got really upset with me. And I said, no, it said, it looks awful on me. I was like, I would not be seen dead in this dress. And I'm not going to put a photograph of me out there wearing this dress. Or if I do put a photograph, it'll be with a negative comment. So I think you prefer me not to do it at all. It's not going to do me any good. It won't do you any good. But it's, you know, what I won't do is lie and start pinning and clipping.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Honesty and integrity. Anyway.
On that note, I'm going to say thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us and sharing your journey on the body confidence route. And hopefully maybe you'd like to join us again once lockdown's over and see how things are progressing on the campaign trail. Yeah,
an absolute pleasure. It's been lovely to chat with you all.
We need to do some more campaigning.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, just getting started.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for joining us, and see you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.